Hello friends, welcome to our channel CBSE English, the Topper's Choice. In today's video, we are going to discuss class 10th, 8th lesson from the English reader, First Flight, Mijbil the Otter. Here we go. At the beginning, we'll discuss about the author. The author of this lesson is Gavin Maxwell. Gavin Maxwell was born on 15th July 1914 and died on 7th September 1969. He was a British naturalist and author, best known for his non-fiction writing and his work with otters. He wrote the book Ring of Bright Water in 1960 about how he brought an otter back from Iraq and raised it in Scotland. The otter was of a previously unknown subspecies, which was subsequently named after Maxwell. Ring of Bright Water sold more than 1 million copies and was made into a film starring Bill Travers and Virginia McKenna in 1969. Theme of this lesson: the story clearly reflects the love that the author had for animals, especially the otter. After having lost his pet dog, the author decides to keep an otter as a pet. Naturally, handling an otter or any animal out of its habitat is not an easy task. One has to be well aware of its habits, nature, food, etc. The story explains the beautiful bond of the author with his pet otter, Mijbil, and the series of incidents that followed during their onward journey to London. Introduction to the story. Gavin Maxwell lives in a cottage in Camusfiana, in the West Highlands in Scotland. When his dog Johnny died, Maxwell wanted to bring an otter from Iraq to England and keep it as a pet. The story tells us about the author and his pet otter, describing how his life changed after he decided to domesticate an otter after losing his pet dog. He takes us on a voyage from Iraq to London, adjusting, playing, and traveling with Mijbil the Otter, and how he built an inseparable friendship with him along the way. Summary of the story. The story, Mijbil the Otter, begins with the writer Gavin Maxwell, who was traveling to Basra with his friend to the Consulate General to collect and answer their mail from Europe. During their journey, Maxwell expressed his desire to keep an otter as a pet instead of a dog, as he felt very lonely after losing his pet dog earlier. His friend suggested he get an otter from the Tigris marshes in Iraq. When they reached the destination, his friend received the mail immediately, while Maxwell had to wait for a few more days to receive his mail. Once he received the mail, he took the sack that was brought by two Arabs carrying a message from his friend and discovered an otter inside it. He christened the otter Mijbil and would often refer to it as Mij. It took a little while for the little creature to adapt to its surroundings. In due course, Maxwell observed that Midge enjoyed playing with water and how it learned to open the bathroom faucet on its own. The writer was thoroughly amazed with the games played by Midge with its own touch of creativity. Soon it was time for Maxwell to return to England with his pet otter. However, the British Airlines had a few restrictions that barred animal from traveling with human beings. So he booked another flight that allowed Midge to travel with him. The new airlines insisted that Midge should be packed in a box so that it didn't disturb other co-passengers on board. Henceforth, Maxwell arranged for a box 1 hour before the flight, put Mijbil inside, and left to grab a quick meal. When he returned, he found there were holes in the box and the edges were stained in blood. He understood that Midge must have injured himself inside the box. He cleaned the box properly and reached the airport a few minutes before the flight took off. When he boarded the flight, he explained the entire incident to an air hostess who advised him to keep his pet on his lap rather, rather than locking his pet inside the container. Maxwell was filled with gratitude for her kind words. But the moment he opened the box, Midge leaped out and vanished in thin air that caused a lot of chaos in the flight. Many co-passengers were astonished seeing the little creature moving around. But the kind-hearted air hostess took Midge and handed it to Maxwell in no time. Soon they reached London, and Maxwell thanked the crew for their support on board. In London, Midge got used to its surroundings gradually. It started playing with marbles and ping-pong balls. The writer was also amazed by the game that Midge had developed with his broken suitcase. Maxwell often took Midge for a walk, and the people of London would make wild guesses about his pet. Some called Midge to be a baby seal, beaver, squirrel, and there were still a few more who would refer to the otter as a hippo. The most shocking response that Maxwell received from a laborer who was digging a hole when he asked him, "Here, mister, what is that supposed to be?" Now we'll discuss the characters of the story. Number 1. Mijbil the Otter. Mijbil the Otter was an extremely lovable creature. He was intelligent too. It took him only a couple of days to get accustomed to the new surroundings with the author. Mijbil was intelligent enough to respond to the calls of the author. Also, he learned how to turn on the water tap in the bathroom. Mijbil was extremely fond of water. He would splash, plunge, and roll about in any amount of water that he came across. The otter also comes across as a very sensitive creature. When the otter leaves him inside a box, Mijbil is panic-stricken, and in his attempt to make escape from the box, he hurts himself grievously. His playful nature could be seen when he escaped from the author's lap and traveled all over the plane much to the surprise and fear of the other passengers. Thus, we see that Mijbil the Otter was an extremely lovable and playful creature, but also sensitive at times. Number 2. Gavin Maxwell. Gavin Maxwell was a naturalist and author, best known for his work with otters. His most popular book was Ring of Bright Water, published in 1960. This described how he brought an otter back from Iraq and raised it in Scotland. The otter Mijbil was eventually identified as a previously unknown subspecies of the smooth-coated otter, since named after Maxwell, Litrogel perspicillata maxwelli. During the Second World War, Maxwell served as an instructor with the Special Operations Executive, the organization that drew together Britain's efforts to conduct undercover warfare in various parts of the world. In 1956, Maxwell spent time in the reed marshes of southern Iraq. The result of this journey was the return of Mijbil the Otter to Scotland. Now we'll discuss the main points of the story. When Maxwell's dog died, he became alone without a pet. In 1956, he traveled to southern Iraq and there he thought of keeping an otter instead of a dog. His friend advised him to get an otter in Tigris marshes. They were found in plenty there. Two Arabs were squatting on the floor and a sack was lying beside them. They handed him a note from his friend. It read, "Here is your otter." The narrator named the otter Mijbil. In the beginning, Mijbil was indifferent but started taking a keen interest in his surroundings. He came to his bed and remained asleep on Maxwell's knees. Like every otter, Mijbil enjoyed splashing water like a hippo. Mijbil was successful in screwing up the tap to its full flow. The otter spent most of his time playing. It was really a difficult job to transport Mijbil from Basra to England. Mij was packed up in a small box. The air hostess was quite friendly and cooperative and suggested keeping the pet on his knee. As the box was opened, Mij was out of the box in a flash. Mijbil disappeared and later on it was found beneath the legs of a turbaned Indian. Maxwell remained in London with Mijbil for nearly a month. Mij invented his own game with the ping-pong ball. Like school children, he would touch every block with his feet and touch every second lamppost. The average Londoner could not recognize an otter and people started giving wild guesses about him. Mijbil was called a baby seal, a squirrel, a walrus, a beaver, etc. So dear friends, if you have liked this video, please click on the like, subscribe the channel and click on the bell icon for getting more videos. Thank you very much for watching.